If I did come back, hypothetically speaking, if I was to return and I was to box Daniel Dubois, I would box that motherfucker's ears off. He wouldn't land the glove on me. It'd be a one-sided beatdown. But listen, I wish him luck in his fight against Usyk. But styles make fights, you know what I mean? And his style and my style don't gel because I wouldn't say that because it's in England and you know it's on his own show. So just do the best you can. That's it. Best you can. It hurt him before the body shot put him down heavily.
Daniel Dubois beats Alexander Usyk.
How do you get to a point where you, besides the emotive connection with thinking that Daniel is in a better place than he was before, there's been no decline in Usyk, and we know we've got Krzyzak in the background leaving him as a promoter, but none of us think that's going to really affect Usyk. I've described Daniel Dubois as an irresistible force that might just be coming up against the immovable object.
Tyson Fury made headlines recently by launching into an impassioned verbal tirade against Daniel Dubois, catching everyone off guard. Famous for his confrontational style, Fury didn't mince words, questioning Dubois' credentials and seemingly dismissing the young heavyweight's emergence in the division. His rather unexpected criticism caused tongues to wag throughout the boxing world, particularly given Fury's hitherto indifferent attitude towards Dubois. It did not take long before social media erupted with views, dissecting each phrase and sentence Fury had uttered towards the rising British challenger.
If I did come back, hypothetically speaking, if I was to return and I was to box Daniel Dubois, I would box that motherfucker's ears off. He wouldn't land the glove on me. It'd be a one-sided beatdown. But listen, I wish him luck in his fight against Usyk. But styles make fights, you know what I mean? And his style and my style don't gel.
Fans quickly wondered if Fury's comments were not arbitrary. Many directed their finger towards Dubois' recent call-out of Alexander Usyk as the likely precipitating factor. With Dubois openly calling for a rematch, this turn of events might have resulted in a delay of Fury's own eagerly awaited return fight with Usyk. For Fury, who's been pursuing undisputed status, the threat of someone getting in the way of that timeline might have hit a nerve. That then added fuel to fires regarding whether his words were based on legitimate criticism or strategic frustration.
Who would I rather fight right now? Usyk. Because I want me revenge in England. That's all I want. I want a fair shout. And I don't believe I've got a fair shout the last 2 times. So I don't know what I'm going to have to do because I can't leave it go to the decision. I think I'm going to have to knock the out, but yeah, that's the one I want. But if I don't get that, then it'd be Joshua, the biggest British fight that will ever happen. And it would break all records, and it would sell out 100,000 at Wembley in an hour. And it's a fight that I think can happen for sure if I decide to come back and the deal's right and all the other that goes with it.
Yet Fury then changed tack, giving Dubois some words of encouragement out of the arena. Away from the combat, Fury accepted Dubois' hard work and promise. It was a calmer face of the Gypsy King, setting out his risky nature as a performer in front of the cameras. Fury's surprise change of heart presented fans with a pause for thought, which led to reconsideration of whether his opening jibes were quite so mind games as insults.
I wouldn't say that because it's in England and you know it's on his own show, so just do the best you can. That's it. Best you can. It hurt him before the body shot put him down heavily.
Don Charles was more analytical, highlighting Dubois' edge and experience. He added that youth had potential to be a game changer in the division's new paradigm. This consideration, tacit as it may have been, infused a sense of respect towards Dubois in acknowledging him not merely as a spoiler, but as a serious player in the heavyweight picture. The remark also suggested that Fury had a grasp of the natural succession of the torch, or at least a realization of it.
Age is a big factor here. Okay, age is a big factor. Daniel's a young lion. He's 11 years younger than Usyk. And that's a massive, massive factor. You're going to watch Usyk age rapidly during that fight.
In spite of the combination of jabs and compliments, Dubois stood stoic. His camp issued recent updates of his physique, revealing him in elite condition and shredded, as well as clearly stronger. The timing of this media release was seemingly deliberate, an implicit message that Dubois is dedicated and doing well despite external rumors. This cool and concentrated effort by Dubois has only served to further his increasing reputation as a maturing boxer prepared for elite level battles. In In the aftermath of the update, behind-the-scenes training videos emerged, showcasing Dubois' grueling punching bag sessions. The clip demonstrated his explosive power, aggressive footwork, and controlled ferocity, indications that his camp is more concerned with sharpening than rebuilding. These training clips have lent credibility to the suggestion that Dubois is not merely physically in shape, but is also refining his skill set with precision, willing to take a step up and put to rest any remaining questions regarding his ability. Legendary trainer Don Charles also had something to say about Dubois' development, sounding positively pleased with the way things have gone in camp so far. He complimented Dubois on his discipline, flexibility, and mental toughness, noting that he's adapting well to the strategic aspects being introduced into training. Don Charles' optimism is a strong vote of confidence too, particularly for those still hesitant about Dubois' readiness to fight at the sport's top again.
We've been together now for 24 months. That first fight was 14 months camp, and new fighter, new trainer, relationship. Now, 24 months later, can you imagine? And you've seen what he's done in between that time, from the Usyk fight to now, what he's gone and done, and become a world champion. And the personnel he has beaten on the way, that suggests to how far he's come. And we're going to top it up by, this is all meant to be, this has all been written by God. The God that I worship.
Boxing icon Carl Froch was also part of the discussion, throwing his weight behind Dubois. Froch, who does not normally endorse fighters without substance, termed Dubois a reconstructed machine, alluding to the visible changes since his initial failures. Froch pointed out that although Dubois still has mountains to climb, the version of himself now is much more dangerous, better prepared, and sharper mentally, attributes which might turn the tables in any future high-profile matchup.
He's a big heavy lad, he can punch, and he's improved since their first fight. He's confident. Look what he did to AJ. Usyk couldn't finish AJ off like Dubois did, because Dubois is a big, heavy, punching heavyweight. It's going to be a tough fight. He's a massive favourite for me, Usyk, but he's the older man by over 10 years. Dubois on the crest of a wave, flying with confidence.
Lennox Lewis gave more heft to the Dubois bandwagon, referencing the transformation witnessed in the young boxer since his victory over Anthony Joshua. Lewis noted the maturity of Dubois' movement, decision-making, and fight IQ. Coming from a one-time undisputed heavyweight champion, this ratification went a long way. Lewis appeared to think that the lessons Dubois had learned from defeat and victory were now coming together to form something perhaps very powerful.
He's been sitting back in the background saying, you know, I've been boxing all these fights and, you know, I want respect. And by beating Anthony Joshua, you know, he'll get that respect because he's a quiet guy, doesn't say too much, but you can tell there's a lot of things on his mind, and being a heavyweight champion is what was always on his mind. And even the fact that, you know, he got presented the belt, he wants to prove himself in the ring and go in there and say, yeah, I deserve to keep this belt.
Vidal Riley also placed his support behind Dubois, referencing his record and development path as cause for optimism. Riley admitted that although Dubois' resume is perhaps not perfect, it indicates a fighter who has been tested, learned, and kept on going. For Riley, it's that resilience, coupled with physical ability, that makes Dubois such a thorn in the side of anyone who may be underestimating him, particularly in the high-pressure environment of top-level bouts.
Daniel's battering everyone. Like, during this period, he's battering them. So when I come back and I'm like,
how do you see the rematch going between Dubois and Usyk?
I think Dubois is going to stop him. I think like round 6 or 7, something like that.
A man you shared the ring with.
Yeah.
The amateurs.
Yeah. He's strong.
Yeah. How old was you when you fought that?
17.
You beat him?
Yeah, I beat him. Yeah. I told you, I'm like, yeah, I'm a winner. Daniel, I've known him since I was 8 years old. It was always one weight apart. We're in the gym, and they're like, oh, Daniel's doing 80 kg. I was like, yeah, you want to do 75? The disrespect. Ain't that, you want me to go to 75 because Daniel's at 8, doing 80. Daniel's battering everyone. Like, during this period, he's battering them. So when I come back and I'm like, bear in mind, I even forgot this, but this is interesting. I won a national title at 57 kg. The next national title that I won after being out for about 18 months was at 80. But that's when I ended up. fighting Daniel.
Popular analyst Simon Jordan also came out in support of Dubois, basing his argument on logic and not bravado. Jordan reminded people that no matter the critique, Dubois has continued to rise and stay relevant at the summit of the division. He stressed the mental toughness required to persevere after a big loss, and in Dubois' instance, that comeback spirit is what distinguishes champions. His remark helped to alter public opinion from doubt to consideration.
Daniel Dubois beats Alexander Usyk.
How do you get to a point where you, besides the emotive connection with thinking that Daniel is in a better place than he was before, there's been no decline in Usyk, and we know we've got Kusiak in the background leaving him as a promoter, but none of us think that's going to really affect Usyk. I've described Daniel Dubois as an irresistible force that might just be coming up against the immovable object.
When asked what he thought about it, Chris Eubank Jr. opted for neutrality and stated that the result would depend on mentality. He was not favoring either boxer, but instead suggested that in such a ruthless sport as boxing, the mental advantage can be the deciding factor. His opinion brought added depth to the argument, again reminding all that physical conditioning is not the sole decider. In those nail-biting situations, it is often composure and attitude that determine the outcome.
I think Daniel Dubois, he's on a roll. He's coming off of a massive win against AJ. Usyk's also on a massive roll, so I think that fight's going to come down to mindset.
Prince Nassim Hamed also opted for neutrality, but with enthusiasm. He said this is precisely the kind of fight people want to see. Two fighters with different styles, backstories, and what's at stake. For Nassim, the hype alone makes it worth it. His perspective made the fight a moment for the sport overall, as opposed to a win-lose. His impassioned neutrality helped bring the matchup above individual loyalties.
The fight we always wanted to see as domestic boxing fans.
Yeah, I suppose that fight is right there, and everybody still wants to see it. But to be honest, we've still got Daniel Dubois, and I was sat next to Daniel Dubois.
Triple D, baby.
Triple D, baby, all day, every day. Let me just tell you this. In my eyes, for me, he's the only one. Triple D is the only one, Daniel Dubois is the only one that's ever hurt Usyk and put him down on the floor, made him think. And he was down there for like 3-4 minutes. So who's to say that once he fights Usyk again, to go out there and absolutely destroy him and bring our belts back to our country.
On Usyk's side, esteemed commentator Adam Smith said while Dubois has improved by leaps and bounds, Usyk is just too clever and adaptable. He analyzed Usyk's flexibility by saying it's not necessarily about power or velocity. It's how he can outthink and outmaneuver that makes him great. For Smith, regardless of how much Dubois improves, he still has a generational talent in Usyk who excels in mayhem and order equally.
I agree with Spencer that Daniel Dubois is a much better mentally and physically athlete, fighter, person, maturity than he was a couple of years ago. He's on a fantastic run. Those wins, that gutting out win over Jarrell Miller to stop him. Hrgovic again taking the licks in the first 3 rounds. And Joshua, of course, absolutely phenomenal.
But this is a whole different animal.
This is a whole different animal. And look, he has to, as Duke said, he has to just keep the pace at him. He's got to work the body. He's got to take risks. Yes, he's got power. He's a phenomenal fighter, Daniel Dubois. However, Usyk's so clever. He's so good in rematches. He's so good on his feet. He's going to have to hope that he's on the decline, and I haven't seen it.
Jake Paul also chimed in, going out on a limb by calling for Usyk to win by TKO. Although most view Jake as a troublemaker in the world of boxing, his statement reflected one that many pundits have said: Usyk's ring IQ and experience might prove too much for Dubois. His forecast brought even more intrigue to the bout and indicated that even influencers are invested in the heavyweight saga.
Jake, what's your prediction for tonight's fight?
Oh man, I like both fighters, but I think Usyk is going to TKO him down the stretch around the 9th round.
Okay.
Boom.
Usyk's former champion Duke McKenzie sat in the Usyk backing camp, referencing the Ukrainian's consistency and composure. He discussed how Usyk does not get flustered, whoever stands in his way. McKenzie emphasized that defeating a fighter such as Usyk takes more than brawn. It needs technical skill and absolute discipline. His opinion reaffirmed why so many feel Dubois is in for the toughest fight of his career.
But this fight between Usyk and Dubois is the best of the best. We've got the two best heavyweights on the planet going head to head again. Now, you know, I'm a big fan of Daniel Dubois. I'm probably a bigger fan of Dubois than I'm of Usyk. I like Usyk also, but I like Dubois and I like everything he stands for, everything he represents, and the way that he carries himself. Tip Dubois to beat AJ, and at a point where the whole nation or a lot of people were picking AJ to win, I looked at Dubois and I thought to myself, you know what? He's a good all-rounder. He's got some good moves. He hits hard, jabs well, good stamina. You know, so there was a lot of tick boxes, and then I did the tick box on AJ, and Dubois came out on top for me. If he was fighting anybody else other than Alexander Usyk, I'd pick him to win.
Finally, Tony Bellew provided perhaps the most straightforward and honest endorsement of Usyk. He said that in his view, Usyk is levels above Dubois. Bellew, who has had the experience of facing Usyk, portrayed the Ukrainian as a puzzle that very few can even attempt to figure out. His enthusiastic endorsement was a testament to how much respect Usyk commands from people who've had the experience of facing him in the ring. For Bellew, this isn't so much a forecast, it's a threat.
I think Daniel Dubois is now coming to a different stage in his career, where he's understanding now of what needs to be done and what's at stake. I think he's shown that he can overcome difficult times in fights now. And I think the victory over Anthony Joshua is going to propel his confidence levels to an all-time high. So I think he's well in this fight. I think he's a super dangerous challenger. And he'll go into it with a lot of belief, but I believe that belief will get shrunk. As the rounds pass and as the shots start getting landed on him, the questions will be asked of him again. Alexander Usyk will be victorious.
Thanks for watching this analysis of the quickly heating up Dubois versus Usyk narrative. Legends to modern day boxers, everyone's got their opinion, yet one thing is certain, the heavyweight division is electric with anticipation. For more premium fight previews and exclusive analysis, click that subscribe button and stay tuned in.